Now I'm going to be demoing trimming on a jig, and you can kind of see from the side view what this is. We have several of these bisque jigs that are for things that have rounded tops like this that you can't put on the wheel well, or things that have long necks. So these can be really handy. And you can see that I have wadded the jig down to the wheel. I did center this onto the wheel. You see me center a lot of things, so I didn't feel like you need to see it. The only thing different is that instead of using my pin tool, I marked it with a pencil so I could get it into place. And I used lots of clay to make sure it's going to stay where I want it to stay. So this is the body of my teapot that we're going to assemble later, and I need to trim the foot. And it's fairly round. There's quite a bit of extra clay on here. So I'll be able to take away quite a lot and make my foot ring. So what I need to do is I'm going to place this into the jig, and instead of centering it side to side like I usually would, I'm going to be worried about centering it so that it's level. So I'm going to hold my pin tool up at the top to make sure I can get that level. So I'm going to support my hand, both hands support the tool. So it's high over here, so I'm going to adjust that just a little bit if that's my highest point. Move it. And we're going to start again. Alright, so we're making contact pretty much all the way through. So I'm pretty happy with that being level. I can use a little bit of clay here to keep it in place. It shouldn't really move too much the way it's held in, but you know, belts and suspenders, I can add some clay here to hold it in place. I might not want to add too much clay because I definitely do need to trim away. So we're going to push this clay down out of my way. Okay, so we're going to get started. I know we're level, and we're going to start taking away things. Where do I want my foot ring? This isn't a terribly large piece, and I know there's a lot of curve here. So we're going to maybe do, I think this looks pretty good as the outside and the inside. We'll start with that. It can always adjust. So we'll start taking away some of this extra clay and seeing where we get. I'm not going to be too aggressive with my pressure while using the jig, just because this is a very tall jig, and so I don't want to, even with as much clay as I use to wad it down, I don't want to pull it off. And there's a lot of clay I have to remove, and there's no reason for me to try to take it all off at once. So I'm just gonna keep on trimming. So I want to look at what I'm doing, look at the curve. I know I can take more away further down. It's a little bit hard because so much of my curve is down in the jig that it's hard for me to see the curve and know that I'm making it the shape that I want. So that's a little bit of a drawback to doing it this way, but it'd be very, very difficult to wad the piece down. You need so much clay and it would still want to kind of tip out. So this really holds it in place for you in a good way. I think that looks pretty nice. Maybe I'll do a little concave curve on my foot here. Just something a little different. So with this being so high, I really need to tuck my arms in and get really close. And avoid hitting the jig, which is a little bit hard to do. So I'm trying to think about that curve. I know it's a continuous curve. So if I'm thinking about the curve on the outside, thinking about how deep I can go on the inside. See, I keep hitting those wads on the jig. I think I'm just about there on the thickness. That looks about right compared to the outside curve. Kind of clean this stuff up here. And of course, as always, make sure things get smoothed out. You don't have any sharp edges. I'm alright with that. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's clean this up with a rib. I think this will be too... Well, I might be able to do it at an angle. This has a nice curve to it, so I can just use that to my advantage here when I'm compressing. Be very gentle and mindful, because if you bump into it too hard, it could spell disaster. So don't come at it too hard, because if you bump in it softly, you can recover, as you've seen me do multiple times. Alright, so I've got my trimmed foot now. And take this clay off. Come on, you, come on. And then I can take this out. That's not bad on the curve for not being able to see it. So you can see I've got my pot. And now I'll be able to assemble the teapot for you.